This man killed hundreds of people. He used their bodies to build a human cabin just to give himself a complete home in order to experience the warmth of home soon. Every day, he searches for his target in the streets and alleys. Once identified, he would approach and gain their trust. Then he kills them in cold blood. Then he carefully cleans up the scene. He arranges the bodies into various shapes. He pulls out his camera and takes what he thinks is a beautiful work of art. After all this, he writes a pen name on it. He sends it to all the newspapers and police stations to satisfy his inner desires. If the picture was not satisfactory, he would return to the scene with a corpse. He'd go back to the scene with the body and retake the picture until he was satisfied. After a year of hard work, he finally gathered all the materials. He couldn't wait to move the body. He took out rebar and twisted the body into the shape he wanted. Then he placed the body in its place according to the frame of the house. And a formidable house was born. And the reason he's so perverted is because he's never been loved before. As a child, he loved to go to the farm and watch the farmers harvest the grass with their scythes. But it wasn't the harvest he loved. It was the thrill of harvesting life. When he saw a duckling swimming, he picked it up with a fishing net. He cut off its claws and watched it struggle in the water. His heart was satisfied like never before. At first, although he was a pervert, he had never thought of killing anyone. But on his way home, he came across a passerby asking for help. Her car had broken down and her jack was damaged. In the middle of nowhere, the passerby had no choice but to ask for his help. Jack was reluctant to help, but she begged him. Jack promised to take her to a garage a kilometer away at the most. But when the passerby repaired the jack, he begged Jack again to take him back to his car. Out of the goodness of his heart, he agreed, but on the way back, she started to make fun of Jack, saying his car was good for transporting corpses. She said he looked like a serial killer, and then she started hypothesizing that if Jack killed her now, no one in the wild would ever find out what he'd done. Even though Jack was impatient, the passerby didn't stop there and kept spouting off. Finally, Jack couldn't stand it any longer. He grabbed a nearby jackhammer and smashed the woman's head in. This was the first time he killed someone, but he didn't feel any panic inside. He even enjoyed it. If hands can't create art, why can't killing be art? From that moment on, Jack decided to make art out of corpses. He dragged the woman's body to the cooler, returned to her car, and drove it to the junction. It's so remote, even the police don't patrol it. Then he started looking for a target. Sneaking up behind the woman, he observes that she leaves alone. He pretended to be a policeman and approached him, saying he wanted to enter the house to check the security. But the old lady was so wary. She asked Jack to show her badge. Jack lied and said he'd recently gotten a promotion and a raise, and that he was still working on his badge. The old lady didn't believe him and looked at him warily, until Jack confessed that he was an insurance agent and could help the old lady increase her pension. Then the old lady opened the door, but Jack's face changed as soon as he entered the room. He scolded the old lady and refused to let him out. The old lady was scared and went to the kitchen to make tea, but Jack caught her back. He grabbed her by the throat. Soon the old lady falls to the floor and struggles in pain. Jack does it again, apologizing and letting the old lady lose her breath. As soon as the old lady died, he took out his dagger and found her heart and pressed it. The old lady died immediately. Then he moved the old lady to a chair and posed for a picture. He started to take pictures. After finishing the crime scene, he took the body to the car. But just as he was about to leave, he suddenly felt that there was nothing under the carpet. He had to go back. The carpet was clean, but he's still not sure. So he checks it again, inside and out. But when he got back to the car, he still felt he left traces. So he went back again. So he went back to the car again, and so on, until he heard the sirens outside. He dragged the body to a nearby forest to prevent the police from checking the car. Jack was extremely calm in the face of questioning. He even said there was a fight in the house and encouraged the police to come in. Because of Jack's calmness, the police had no doubt about him. Afterwards, he checked himself in front of the police to see if he had left any traces. After confirming that he was right, he hung the body on the car, but he didn't realize that the body had rubbed against the road, leaving a long trail of blood. He went home and opened the shroud. He realized something was wrong when he saw the disfigured body. Looking at the bloodstain that stretched all the way to his door, he regretted it so much. Just when he thought he was about to be caught, a heavy rainfall washed away all the traces. He felt that he was favored by God, and this escape made him more and more sick. He began to enjoy the thrill of killing. The man raised his shotgun and shot the boy. The woman ran over to the boy and cried out. Another boy, hiding behind the mound, tried to run, but as soon as he ventured out, he was shot by Jack. After brutally killing both boys, he told the woman they were hungry. The woman, in a state of shock, could only scoop up the food and feed it to her children. Jack watched the scene with great satisfaction. He then asked the woman her lucky number, so he gave the woman 12 seconds to escape. But how far can she run in 12 seconds? Jack shot the woman, and she fell to the ground. Jack slowly climbed down from the platform. He whistled excitedly at the bloodstains on the ground. He followed the trail of blood. He found the woman cowering in the pit. pretending to be dead, but her trembling body gave her away. Jack had the heart to refill his gun. In the end, he arranged the 3 bodies with the crows. He made it into a giant painting. It was his most satisfying work to date. But within 3 days, the killings began again under the guise of drunkenness. He told his new girlfriend that he was Mr. Delicate. Naturally, she didn't believe him and told Jack to be normal. In order to prove himself, Jack got a pen and circled the girl's bust. His eyes were dark and paranoid. The more the girl looked at him, the more she felt something was wrong. She rushed out of the room and told the police on patrol. Her boyfriend is a murderer, but the smell of alcohol on her body made the police think it was a prank. Especially, Jack admitted in front of the police that he killed more than 60 people. The cop was even more unconvinced. He advised the two to watch their step and drove away from the place. Jack then apologized to the girl, pretending to be drunk. This makes the girl think that maybe it was really just Jack's drunken ramblings. So, she took Jack back to the house to take care of him. However, just as she was about to call the drugstore to ask its clerk to deliver some sobriety pills, she was shocked to find that the phone lines had been cut. It made her break out in a cold sweat. When Jack's back was turned, she crept to the door, but the key to the door had disappeared. To add insult to injury, she turned her head to find Jack standing right behind her. Jack was staring at her with a sinister look on his face. Desperate, she screamed to attract the neighbors' attention, but Jack was with her when she called for help. A man and a woman howling in the middle of the night. Everyone thought the couple was playing a prank. That's why no one in the building came out to check on them. Maybe they'd even go home and yell at each other for being crazy. In the end, Jack trapped the girl with a telephone wire. Then he sealed her mouth with a strip of cloth. He brought her a couple of sharp knives to choose from. These were the tools he used to kill her. But before the girl could answer, he pressed the girl to nod her head. With the girl's screams, her breasts were cut off and became Jack's favorite purse. But that was just the tip of Jack's artistry. One day, he had the idea of grabbing some men and lined them up for a test. How many heads could be pierced by a single full metal bullet? Jack the homicidal maniac wanted to try. He tied the heads to steel pipes and lined them up in a straight line. He set up his sniper rifle and loaded it. As he's about to do it, a man suddenly says Jack's not using full metal bullets. He's a soldier, so he recognizes it. Jack takes it out and sees that it is. He takes out all the bullets again, and every single one of them turns out to be the same. Without full metal bullets, his tests were inaccurate. Jack was furious and went to the owner, who sold him the fake bullets, to question him, but he refused to admit it and demanded an invoice to prove that he had bought the bullets from him. Jack was even more furious and wanted to buy another box, but the owner asked for Jack's SID, saying it was required by law. Jack was so angry that he wanted to kill him right away. However, the test was ready. All that was missing was a full metal bullet. He didn't have time to argue with the owner, so he went to a hunter he knew to buy another one. But as soon as the hunter saw him, he called the police. It turns out that after a long time of observation, the hunter has discovered Jack's secret. Jack was not afraid, and frankly Saturday opposite the hunter and talked to him. In the end, the hunter took advantage of the hunter's surprise and killed him with a knife. The hunter found a full metal bullet in the house. At the same time, the police came to the house. As soon as he entered the house, he saw a man in red with his back to him. He thought he was the hunter. Next thing he knew, he was shot in the head. He became one of Jack's ghosts. Jack grabbed the police car and rushed back to the cooler. He didn't even turn off the alarm. When he got back to the cold room, he loaded his gun right away, but the sniper was too close to aim, so he pried open a compartment in the cold room and moved the sniper rifle. He made sure the gun and the head were on the same line of sight. Now that everything was together, he could test it without worrying, but just as he was about to pull the trigger, someone behind him suddenly called his name. When he turned around, an old man appeared in the cold storage room at an unknown time. He didn't know how the old man got here, but Jack thought about it carefully. It seems like every time he's done something, there's an old man in black staring at him from afar. He asked Jack if he wasn't building a house. Jack realized what was going on. He immediately found the wire. He put all the bodies in the right place according to the structure of the house. Soon a house made of human bodies was built. By now, the police were following the police. They were cutting up the front door. Jack looked at his masterpiece and was satisfied. He walked inside with the old man. In the center of the house was a big hole, and he went in by accident. The underground space is endless. Jack walked through countless holes in the ground and came to a large golden-colored hall. At the old man's signal, he leaned over the window to check it out. A group of people are neatly harvesting a good harvest. The old man told him that it was paradise and that they would never be in pain. At that moment, Jack longed for the world outside the window, but the old man took him to a broken bridge. He told him that across the bridge was paradise, but he wasn't allowed to go there. Jack looked closely at the broken bridge. And realized that he could climb over the rocks. The old man told him no one has ever succeeded, but Jack didn't believe him, thinking he'd be the first person to do it. But halfway up, He realized there was no way out, but he wouldn't go back the way he came. In the end, he falls off the edge of the abyss. The director captures the 12 glorious years of a psychopathic serial killer's criminal career, using the killer's point of view and recklessly challenging the audience's bottom line with his images. But for the prepared viewer, his bad taste is nothing. The movie is creatively a continuation of Female Addict, stylized like a collected stage review. Lots of dialogue interspersed with various philosophical-esque theories, interspersed with the killer's 5 murderous mishaps. The killer cures his obsessive-compulsive disorder by killing, but it doesn't make his soul any nobler. The director aims to create the movie as a work of art, and so draws a clear line between real life and the movie without letting them both pass. The independent space constructed by the movie allows Lars von Trier to vent his hatred of mankind with impunity. The humanity of Dogville, the desire of Antichrist, the destruction of Melancholia, the sexuality of Addicted to Women, the violence of This House Is Mine. They do not raise moral dilemmas,